Chairman of the American Trombone Workshop. Welcome to day 3 of the 2018 American Trombone Workshop. This apparently is the 44th time that this workshop has happened. It started as the Eastern Trombone Workshop, 1974. I can remember that because it's the year I was born. And it's the 25th year that the U.S. Army Band has been hosting this workshop. We're very fortunate that our leadership here at the Army Band is supporting this workshop. We're very grateful to our Colonel Andrew Esch for allowing us to continue to do this. And also thank you to all of you who keep coming back. Just for a show of hands, whose is this their first workshop that you've been to? Okay, and how many people this is their second or third or multiple? Okay, yeah, so pretty good mix. Good. So with this warm-up session, you could say it's a little something selfish for myself because I have a rehearsal that starts in 9:30. So I wanted to make sure that when I made the schedule, I gave myself time to warm up, because that's one of the things that happens when you're running a workshop like this, is that you're so busy doing other things that you don't often have time to actually warm up yourself. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to warm up if I have to run the warm-up session. Otherwise, I'd be running around, taking care of this and that details at the last minute, and then I'd have to go sit in my chair and try to play a rehearsal. So this session will only be 30 minutes, but my plan is to allow you this space for the remainder of the hour to warm up on your own. Or if you want, you can just go ahead and head on over to the vendor hall and continue there. Obviously, come back for 10:30 when Harry Waters does his recital here. So again, this is kind of a little selfish on my part, but I thought it would be interesting for you to know what it's like for somebody like myself who does this as a living, what a warm-up looks like for somebody like me. Okay, I will say that my warm-up has evolved as I've grown as a musician. When I was a student, my warm-ups would be extremely long, very organized. I would do certain things in a certain order every day, and I did that for years. As I became a professional and started working in different positions, and I started finding that certain things worked better than others depending on what I had to do. So I would just say that, for now, 30 minutes for me to warm up is a luxury. Where when I was a student, like if I didn't have a full hour in my own in a quiet space, like I felt rushed. But I have had several times where I've had to show up and immediately start playing with no warm up at all. I have gotten a call. I was at home one evening. It was 7:30 at night, and it was the personnel manager from the Kennedy Center Opera. Are you available now? It's like, yes, why? It's like, so-and-so is sick, we need you to come in and play. It's like, I can be there in an hour. It's like, what do I need to wear? It's like, you bring your tux, the music's there, all the mutes are there, just come in and play. So I'm like, I didn't even know what I was playing. And so I got in my car, I drove into the city, parked, walked into the pit mid-first act, sat down, and just had to start playing. And it was an opera that I had never heard of. It was relatively new. It's called Dead Man Walking, if you ever want to listen to it. It's a really nice opera. It's the same storyline as the movie under the same name. But yeah, I just had to come in and start playing and do the job. And as a professional, that's something you are kind of expected that you may have to do that. And so if you are kind of in this routine of like, I need this in order to function, that's more of a crutch than it is anything that's helping you. So brings me to the point of what is a warm-up? What is the function of a warm-up? Anyone want to take a guess? I mean, what are we warming up for? To warm you up. For? Playing. Okay, yes. What are you playing? Okay. So that's a good place to start, right? Are you warming up for orchestra? Are you warming up for brass quintet? Are you warming up for jazz band? Are you warming up to play solos and etudes? What are you warming up for? The reason I'm talking about this is because the greatest adaptation for change in your playing happens between your ears. It's your brain, okay? You could be a monster player. You could have the best high chops, the best low chops, control and all that sort of stuff. But if this isn't working and this isn't engaged in what you're doing, then it's not going to matter. I have known many great players who have not been able to make it into the professional ranks simply because this is just not working for one reason or another. And you'll hear stories about these guys. I don't know, he's a great player, but just never gets a job. And that's generally because there's something here where they're just not engaging in the task at hand. So when take your instrument out of the case, ask yourself, what am I getting ready to do? Am I just getting ready to play long tones, lip slurs, and scales? And even if that's the answer, ask yourself that question before you start. And it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And then always ask why. Why am I playing my scales? What am I trying to accomplish by playing my scales? This is just a way to get your brain more engaged in what you're doing. I hear too many students and even professionals, I've been in the Army Band now for 17 years, where they call it their scientifically designed warm-up. It's the same every day. It's just kind of like, you know it, like you could play along with their warm-up. You've heard it so many times. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're functioning better or progressing. The other element of this is, how do you expect to get better or improve or adapt if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Everyone's heard that famous quote, what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So when you're warming up, have a purpose, but also be critical of what you're doing. Is it working? Is it helping you? Are you getting better? Okay? Have those things in mind. Yes?
Okay, so do you think there's a difference between warming up and daily drills?
That's a very good question. Is there?
I mean, yes.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of ask, like, what is a warm-up? A warm-up is getting you ready, right? My warm-up, I feel like, if I have 5 minutes, I'm good. Anything beyond that, I'm practicing and doing daily drills. Honestly, for most of the stuff I do in a band rehearsal, I can just pick up my trombone and feel pretty comfortable sitting down and just playing, even if I haven't had one note. I don't like to do it, but I could. And that's because I play so much in a given day, I don't really need to warm up. It's like I'm always kind of ready to go. So yeah, at what point do you transition from a warm-up into a daily routine, drills, exercises, that sort of thing? And again, I'd say that's a lot of the mental shift. It's like, when do you transition out of, I'm working on my long tones into, okay, now I'm going to, do this or do that. So it's a good question to ask. I would say daily drills and things that you do every day are very beneficial. But, where is that? Does it separate? Does it matter if it separates? I don't think it really does, honestly. It's okay to have a daily drill that's part of your warm-up. That's fine. But be able to adapt and change that depending on what you're doing and how successful it is. One thing I like to use as an example is your daily drills and exercises should reflect the music that you're about to play. We all know sort of like the Remington ba-da-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da, sort of lip slurs. But when have you ever played that in music? Anyone? Yeah, almost never. I mean, unless you play like the, the Annie Laurie, Arthur Pryor solo. I mean, that's the only time you ever get to play that sort of lip slur, right? I played plenty of lip slurs in music. They just never look like what you see in a warm-up book, right? So we'll get into that a little bit as to tailoring your warm-up for what you're about to play and making it a little bit more applicable to real-life applications, okay? So I haven't played a note yet. It's now about 10 minutes past 9. So this is about the time that I would be normally getting to rehearsal. I'd take my horn out of my case. And so you will find that there are some universal truths, like the first thing I want to get going is I want to get my air moving. Okay? So I want to make sure that the air is flowing and that I have control over the air. A lot of the times, traffic in DC is the worst in the country. I live 17 miles away and it takes me an hour to drive here. So, you know, I've got a little sort of tension built into my body. So I want to kind of like make sure that I'm getting relaxed and I can deliver that air in a nice relaxed way. So the first thing, yes, I do start with long tones. But I'm not going to spend 15 minutes on long tones. I might spend 2 or 3 minutes. So quick show of hands. First note of the day, B flat. Okay. First note of the day, F. Upper F, okay. First note of the day, A. Just me? Okay. How many bands or orchestras tune to A, or professional groups? Pretty much everyone I've ever been to, right? Okay, think about that. I'm just going to throw that out there. So my first note of the day is going to be an A. So why don't we join together? We're just going to play a nice long A. Whenever I start, I like to make sure that, again, my brain is turned on. I'm not just going to pick up the horn and play. I'm going to establish a tempo in my head. 60 beats per minute is a perfectly fine place to start. If I haven't sort of touched base with a tuner or a drone for a while, I might get that A in my head first. But this is the tempo. Let's just hold this for 2 measures. 1, 2, ready, go. Good. Okay. For me, this is where I start evaluating. How did that feel? For me, that didn't feel great. My chops are a little stiff, so I'm going to do that again. Okay, let's try that again. Again, I'm thinking about moving the air. I'm thinking about warming up the breath and getting that nice rich sound. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. I personally felt better about that one. I felt like I was getting some help from the room, and it just made me feel better about that note. So what I do here is I start moving on. Long tones don't have to be long tones on just one note. You can do long tones glissing between multiple notes and even across partials. So from here, I like to just start moving around a little bit. So here I like to set a tonality because I think tonality grounds us and it gives us a really good place to start from. So I just decided to pick A minor. So we're just going to go, we're going to hold a whole note for an A, we're going to gliss down to a G, and then come back to an A. And then I'll give you different notes from there. Okay? So we'll do this again. Let's do this in 3/4, 1, and we'll do dotted half notes on each note. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Excellent, very nice. Again, I like setting that tonality. It gets my ears ready to play tonal music, which is generally what I do. If I were doing brass quintet stuff, I might take a slightly different tack. We'll get into that in a minute here. All right, so from here, we're going to go A, B natural, back to the A. Okay, same idea. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. I like this sort of wedge shape that we're going to start here. You're going to see we went down, then we're going up. Now we're going to go down a little bit more, and we're going to go up a little bit more. So we're going to go A, G, F, G, A, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll go A, B, C natural, B, C. Okay? And let's move this because I don't want this to be an issue where we're not able to accomplish the notes in one breath. So let's shorten the duration to half notes, and we'll go back into 4/4. So half note on each. A, G, F, G, A. 1, 2, ready. Good. And so now we'll do the corollary going up, A, B, C, B, A. 1, 2, ready. Good. All right. You'll notice that I am glissing. Reason for that, which I didn't say before, was so that I don't want anything to interrupt the air. I want that air moving very freely, very openly. So I kind of wait to start moving the tongue until I feel like I've got the air moving. Once I do feel like I get the air moving, I might start throwing in some tongue, and I might start doing da 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 da, that sort of thing. But again, keeping the air as smooth as possible. But let's stay with these half notes and not tonguing just yet. So let's continue this to A, G, F, E, F, G, A, and then we'll do one more in the opposite direction, okay? So this one, if you need to take a breath, just take a relaxed breath, come back in. Don't feel like you need to be rushed. This is the sort of thing, if I were doing it on my own, I would just take a rest, come back in on the next note. But we'll just do this as a group at the same half notes. 1, 2, ready. Very nice, okay? And so now going up to the D, and then back to the A. 1, 2, ready. Good. And so for me right there, I already feel like I've got the air moving. I feel like my tone is warming up. And it's been, probably about as much time as I would normally spend just doing long tones. Depending on how you feel, it's always good to evaluate. How does it feel? Do you need more? Can you move on to something else? One of the things, too, is that I don't like to get stuck in just one particular range too quickly. It's real easy to just kind of get stuck in that second, third partial when you're doing long tones, and you do it for a long time. And then I find if I do that, my upper range doesn't focus the same way as if I get into that upper range faster. So let's go ahead now and do this. We're going to do a different exercise. This is from the Marsteller book. Some of you might recognize this. This is the same sort of exercise that we just did, but now we're just going to change it a little bit, and we're going to start on an F, but we're going to go chromatically up and down. So instead of doing in a tonal pattern, we're going to go F, E, F, F sharp, F, E flat, F, G, F, E flat, and so on. We're just each time going a half step lower and a half step higher. Okay? And so this is where I might start working in some articulation. So let's do, like I said before, we'll go da 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 da, sort of like that. So nice. I want the air to be nice and steady, but we're just going to add some legato tongue. So we'll do F, E natural, back to F. Take a break. F, F sharp, back to F, take a break. So we'll kind of proceed in that way. So one. This will be still 2 beats worth of each note. 1, 2, ready. Okay, and now we'll go up to the F sharp. 1, 2, ready. Good. Yeah, feel free to add the longer note at the end. That's fine. Now we'll go F, E flat, back to the F. 1, 2, ready. Good. F up to the G. 2, ready. Good. F down to the D. 1, 2, ready. Good. F up to the A flat. 2, ready. Good. Now down to the D flat. Ready. Good. F up to the A natural. 2. Ready. Good. F down to the C. 1, 2, ready. And then up to the B flat. 1, 2, ready. Good. And so you could continue this all the way till you reach the octave at both ends. Who found that rather more challenging than they thought it would be? No one's going to cop to it? It sounded more difficult. I noticed especially the A flat and the A after playing the D and the D flat, because you have some odd intervals there, right? You're going from a D back to the F and then A flat, so it's outlining my diminished triad, right? So that's the sort of thing here. Is like, are you just moving the slide and hoping the note comes out, or are you actually thinking about what intervals you're actually playing? I challenge you to think about that, and you know, what are the intervals that you're trying to play? Are you relying on the slide to make the note come out, or are you really thinking about it and producing that pitch with your embouchure? Okay? That's why I like these sort of exercises that are a little bit out of the ordinary. Marsteller has some really good exercises for that. He gets into a lot more of these sort of chromatic progressions and things like that. Another way of doing that is if you normally do your lip slurs, what I call down the slide and up the slide, like everything goes in half steps down and half steps up. Music very seldom actually does that, right? Practice your lip slurs in the circle of fifths and fourths. You know, get used to doing things in a different way that might actually better imitate the music you're about to play. And that brings me to the next thing. So we have just a few more minutes. So yes, lip slurs are a big part of what I do when I warm up. But very seldom, as I said before, are you going to find the Remington in any sort of music. But I play a lot of lip slurs in music. A lot of the time, it's when I'm moving the slide. And so I find a lot of people do the lip slurs, you know, locked into one position. Okay, I'm going to do my first position lip slurs. I'm going to do my second position lip slurs. Feel free to move the slide. You know, work on those natural breaks and things like that while you're doing them. So this is a lip slur that I'm sure I stole from somebody. I just can't remember who I heard it from first. So I'm not going to take credit for inventing it. I just don't know who to credit it for. And this goes back also to my first thing where I start in some sort of tonality, because I like this exercise because it sets up a really fundamental progression. 1, 5, 1. Okay? So we're gonna make it easy on you guys. So we're gonna start in the key of B flat. So it's just B flat, A flat, F, E flat, C, A, B flat. It's gonna sound like this. And notice I'm not gonna tongue. I'm still just gonna work on getting the air. Okay? So you can hear it starts on the B flat, so that's 1. And then I outline a dominant chord, F, E flat, C, A, just in a slightly odd inversion. And then I gliss back to the B flat. You guys catch that? Do I need to play it again? Let's just see what happens. Let's just do it in quarter notes. B, bum. About that tempo, okay? 1, 2, 3. Good. All right. And let's go ahead and, again, be trombone-y about it, and let's just go down the slide. That way you don't have to think it too much. Just bump every position out one. Okay? 1, 2, ready. Good. And I'm the one that played a G sharp. All right. Let's go one more. So we're starting on the A flat, G flat, 1, 2, 3. Good. Of course, now that I'm standing in front, I'm having trouble playing it. Now this lip slur, just like all lip slurs, can be expanded in either direction. So a lot of the times I'll start this on the D, so the third of the tonic chord, and I'll do it like this. Like that. You can expand it even more. Like that, and start working in the low register. And so you can see I really haven't warmed up yet, right? I was telling the truth. So let's try that one. So it's going to be F, E flat, C, A, F, E flat, C, A, low F, back to B flat. Okay? We'll go just a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3. Good. Catch that? Let's do that one more time. I'm not going to make you play in a lot of different positions right now. Just kind of have that be something you think about. Let's do that one more time in first position. 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, so that's one I really like to do, and I will do that in different positions. If I feel ambitious, I might try to think about, okay, I'll do it in F, then I'll do it in C, and then I'll do it in G. Yeah, it's all about working in that sort of tonality. If you're going to play tonal music, the more you can ground your warm-ups in that sort of tonal framework, the better you're going to be set up to go into that rehearsal and know that, okay, I've got these tonalities in my head. I've found with a lot of younger students, probably not so much for students that are here, but like beginner students, they really don't have a good grasp of what tonality is, to be honest. I mean, a lot of music that's being played on the radio, yeah, it's tonal, but there aren't scales and there aren't real chords and things that a lot of classical music is kind of built on. So what does a dominant triad sound like? That sort of things can be very beneficial for younger students, but also for us because that's a bulk of what we do. Okay, I do have rehearsal, so I'm warmed up. I'm ready to go play a rehearsal. That's pretty much all it takes for me. Please feel free to use the space for the next half hour to continue your warm-up. Think about the things I mentioned. I'm going to be around for the rest of today and the rest of tomorrow. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it at that time. So again, thank you all for coming, and I look forward to seeing you for the rest of the workshop.